actually start off, I don't necessarily like to talk about myself, but I find that people like to know your story. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me and why I'm here today and kind of what led me here today, because that also fits into what we're talking about today. So I am not someone who's had a major health crisis in my adult life. I feel that my trauma happened when I was a child. I was exposed to various abuses, emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. I had relatives, siblings that were abused, that were older. And if you can just imagine being in a young child and having somebody you love kind of being beat, what do? You know, the only thing you can do is you have to hide, or you don't feel that you have power. But when you think about those things and how they impact you later on in life, most of the time you don't think about it. You just get on with your life. And it usually takes something later on in your life to make you take a step back and then address whatever it was. Because most of us, between 0 and 7 years old, we are just absorbing things. We don't have any filters. So we have emotions that we store in our bodies. We have values and beliefs that we store in our bodies. And we don't even know, because most of it is at the subconscious level. And if you know, what drives us in our day-to-day life is our subconscious. It's our driver. It's 90% of our consciousness. So if you look at the conscious and subconscious, 90% is in the subconscious. So we don't know. We might act and we might do things and we're like, yeah, no, I shouldn't do that. But why am I doing it? And that's because what's driving us is deeper within our subconscious level. So in my world, a lot of my trauma was young. And I didn't realize, going throughout my teenage years and my adult life, how much that impacted me. I was always told, you're well-rounded, you're well-balanced, you're doing pretty good. One of my fears was security growing up, particularly financial security. So in my adult life, I was driven by these things, and all I wanted to do was get ahead. And I took the normal path. I took a corporate job, fantastic. It took me all over the world. I loved what I did. But you realize at some point, something needs to change within you. I also found I was in a long-term relationship, and I realized that one day, it kind of hit me, and I said, this person isn't physically abusive, but everything that's happening is just like being in a physically abusive relationship. So I didn't necessarily repeat the patterns of the physical abuse, but I did in a lot of ways. So that led me to adult. I got through, I was going great, and then I realized that I needed to change something about me. And that was about 10 or 11 years ago. So I looked at where I was, and I said, I do not want to live this way anymore. Something needs to change. And it doesn't matter how I got here. It doesn't matter the things that were going on and the people that were in my life at that time. What matters is I know I need to change something about me. I didn't know what, and I didn't know how, but it did not matter, because that was the turning point for me of changing my life to bring me to where I am today. So it took me a while to figure things out. And as you said, once you think you got it figured, there's something else. It wasn't until about 4 years ago that I left my corporate life. And that was a big step, particularly financially, because I was, that was my big thing. I needed to be financially secure. So I left my corporate life, and I decided I was going to travel the world. But I also knew it was more than leaving that job, and I also knew it was more than traveling. It was a life-changing moment. I was shifting, and what I did is I actually asked myself, what are the things that I want to be doing? And I just felt that travel was the means for me to do what I wanted to do. One thing led to another. That's the amazing thing. When I opened myself up, it's just like the door opened, and one thing led to another. The path just began to clear the way.
The yellow brick road.
Yes, you got it. Yellow brick road. And that's why, you know, when I started the travel, I was looking for a blog, a name, but Yellow Brick Road is just so stood out for me because life's a journey. You know, it's going to have twists and turns. Okay. So that's a little bit about me. That's kind of how I ended up here. And I tell you that because as we go through our talk today, you'll see how things are kind of interlinked, and I'll try and kind of put them together for you.